Good, man.
Okay, bet. Yeah, got the new webcam working, looking clear.
How was your day, man?
Man, for real, it was straight. Crazy hectic, man. Crazy hectic. So many people left. I just seen an article on it. One of my old coworkers sent me it. One of the secretary of the USDA was like, what did it say? We paid for 16 or for 15,000 employees to leave, and now they trying to hire back for those critical positions.
Yeah, they're doing that at my job too. The most critical spots of people that left. They didn't think about that before, but now they stuck trying to scramble.
What can I say, man?
Yeah,
What can I
yeah.
say?
So you said you work at the USDA?
Yeah.
Okay. So I work at the Navy Yard. I work for NAVC. So the
Hmm.
department I work for is unmanned vehicles. That's pretty much as I'll say. So we do
Hmm.
with unmanned vehicles, as far as like ships and stuff like that, boats, anything unmanned. It's pretty cool actually. A lot of stuff that's coming down the pike.
Okay.
What's going on, man? Like, a lot of stuff you're gonna see. Some of it, like they've actually like put some of the stuff online, but yeah, some of these unmanned vehicles they got now, man, it's crazy.
Yeah, I believe that. I believe
Yeah,
that. You say you retired, right? Or you still
yeah.
there?
I retired from the Navy, but
Mhm.
I'm a government contractor for the Navy now.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Nice.
yeah, it all worked out, man, in the end, man. Yeah.
All right. What's the what is that your logo you wearing?
No. It's just Temple. My son recently decided to go to Temple University, so
Okay.
I did it, kind of embarrassing. I threw it
Ah,
around the house.
ain't Temple in Philly?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Because I know they always got a pretty good basketball squad.
yeah. It's not that far, like 2.5 hours from
Oh
here.
yeah. I got family up there.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what's good.
yeah. How's the
Okay.
channel coming, man?
I made $1.33, my boy. My first $1.33. Let's go.
Yeah, you gotta have a lot of subscribers, man, to make the big bucks. Though I'm starting to notice.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
man, if you doing it, even if you're a small creator, shout out to y'all, man, because it's not easy, but I think it'll definitely pay off. I think that's where individuals can really make something for themselves, like something substantial, that's gonna pay and that's meaningful. Having that real estate,
yeah,
having that IP.
yeah. So before we jump into this, I want to say, so recently, I wouldn't say recently, I would say about a year ago, I think it was when I first met you. It was at a Wounded Warriors event, and
Hmm.
it was a Washington Wizards game versus the Indiana Pacers.
Hmm.
It
Hmm.
was a year ago. It was like a year ago, a little over a year ago. Yeah, Wizards got
Yeah.
smacked, but it was a free ticket.
Yeah, Halliburton was doing his thing. I remember that because I was like, "Who is this guy?" I didn't know who he was.
Yeah, he wasn't that known at that time,
Yeah,
but
he was cool though.
yeah, yeah, he was putting in work. All right, so with this first question, I want to ask you, where are you originally from, Ryan?
So I am from the eastern shore of Maryland. So a lot of people only know Ocean City if they've been there before, if they know the
Mhm.
area. Um, I'm like, and that's like the Delaware side of Maryland. So that's
Okay.
the peninsula side, right? For people
Mhm.
that don't know, I'm from a small town called Cambridge, Maryland, right off that shore.
Okay.
Yeah, small
So,
town. Go
so is
ahead.
Easton over on that side? Easton, Maryland.
Eastern Maryland. I'm
So
30 minutes south of Easton.
okay, so I knew this guy at my first duty station. He was from Easton, Otis Sampson. So on my channel, I said a couple stories about Otis. Man, he's a funny guy, man. from
Good
Eastern
old
Maryland.
Rowley. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's crazy, it's so small over there, so everybody knows each other, especially by last name. So when I'm there and somebody sees me, they're like, "What's your last name? Who your people?" You know. And I go ahead and say the Rollies. Like, oh, I know your people. I know so and so. I went to school with him or something like that. You
Mhm.
know. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
grew up in a small town too. The town I'm from is called Aliquippa, Pennsylvania. So it's a
Who?
small Aliquippa. It's
Alan who? Alan
it's
Quipper?
outside of Pittsburgh. Yeah, it's outside of Pittsburgh, man.
Okay,
So if
okay.
you into sports, then you've heard of people from Aliquippa. A lot of people, they haven't heard of the name, of
Hmm.
course, you know. But some of the people that's from there, you got like Mike Ditka, Ty
Hmm.
Law, Tony Dorsett,
Okay.
Sean Gilbert, Darrell Revis. Like this, so it's a little football factory in Western Pennsylvania.
It sounds like it. Like if you talk about a small town and they produce that many people that's been involved in the NFL alone, that's kind of wild.
Yeah, there's a lot more names, but yeah, we got a nice little amount of people from there.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. That's what's up. I remember the real Revis. That guy was a
yeah.
problem.
Uh-huh. So
Yeah.
growing up, Ryan, were you involved in any extracurricular activities?
Um. Well, I kind of grew up outside,
Hmm.
so for me, a lot of things. And the question was basically, what was I into when I was younger, growing up?
Yeah.
Yeah, basically outside sports, man, like basketball, football. Like my mom wouldn't let me play organized football, so I just had to go outside and play. I mean, I don't know which one was more dangerous. I mean, because I was playing tackle with no pads, so I don't know. But yeah, a lot of that, a little bit of video games. Call of Duty when it was in its early days. Modern Warfare 1 and 2, stuff like that. Um, that was a lot of what we did. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, like for me, like there was no internet when I was growing up, so we played outside a lot. But there was what Nintendo was like new when I was
Hmm.
when I was young. Sega, that was new. So I was during that time frame, the '90s when I was coming up. Yeah, but
Yeah.
no internet, no cell phones, none of that.
And that's why I say my upbringing was kind of different because a lot of kids my age or a lot of cats my age can't really relate. Like they wasn't really outside like that, like and then a lot of older heads talk about the street lights. When the street lights come on, you better be in. That's exactly how it was for me too. Like that was a thing. That was a thing, and then you know how they flicker on.
Uh-huh.
So when they start to flicker, you're like, oh, we got to go.
Yeah. Yeah, I tried a couple times, I tried to stay out past the street lights. My mom would come looking for me, man. That's
Facts.
she was.
Facts. Yeah, so that search party. Like I was raised by my grandma, so that's probably why I was kind of raised similar.
Hmm. So you were in the army, right?
Army, yep.
Okay.
And you
So what
Navy?
was? Yeah, I was in the Navy. So what was a deciding factor for you that made you join the army?
Man, like I was saying earlier, I'm from a small town, so it wasn't a lot of opportunities offered, especially to people that look like us. Um, it was mainly minimum wage jobs. College wasn't really an option because the money wasn't like that. Um, and and yeah, yeah, I remember the best job I had was working at the hospital in the kitchen. I was a porter. I was washing dishes. And that was like the only job that I knew besides the post office that offered benefits. So I already knew like it wasn't like that. Plus, a lot of people, majority of the people around me, they didn't have it like that either. Everybody moved across the bridge, that Bay Bridge, and
Yeah.
moved like the PG and Montgomery County and DC and all that, and Virginia. That's when they really started. The people that really thrived, they moved out that direction.
Yeah.
Of course, that's where the opportunities are.
Yep.
So Yeah, basically that's what it was. College didn't seem like an option. I didn't want to be broke and going to school and then be in debt. So I was like, nah, I might as well go in the army. And I remember when I was thinking about the jobs, I wanted to have only one I wanted to avoid was infantry.
Mm.
And it was funny is that I basically got something just as bad being a combat engineer because it's basically infantry but a little bit more like some bridge building along with it.
Uh,
Yeah, and then then I became a part of a route clearance platoon, so that's even more, that's close to EOD basically. You know
yeah.
what I'm talking about? I mean, I just struck gold with that one.
Hmm. I
Trying to
remember
do.
after I took the ASVAB test and they showed me all the different jobs. Most of them was like all aviation, and then he
Hmm.
had this one. There was an admin one. When I was
Hmm.
reading it, it was saying like you're in an air conditioned office. I was like, oh, I'm definitely gonna take this one right here.
Facts, facts. Now they didn't offer me no air conditioned jobs. Like it was like a cook, infantry, and then what I did a combat engineer. So it was, I mean, technically a cook, but I knew cooks worked hard. So I knew they wake up early. I know they had like long shifts. I know they had to work weekends. So I ain't want that. So and me being a smart guy back then, the first time I took the ASFAB, I was hungover. And so of course I fell asleep during the test. Like it
Uh-huh.
was it was pretty bad, bro. The second time I took it again, I think it was the same thing. I hyped myself up and everything. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna take it serious, and same thing, bro. Hungover, slumped on the desk. I remember I was with the recruiter and we was doing a fitness test, and he was like, all right, run a mile. And it was like, you think you can do like 20, 30 push-ups? It's like, yeah, because I was an athlete. I played football, I played basketball, I even played lacrosse my senior year, so I was pretty good in shape. But this was like a year after I graduated, so I was out of shape, bro. Like I couldn't even finish that mile. Like when I started walking, he was like, all right, that's enough. It was bad, bro. It was bad. I remember around that time before I joined, I started working at Dairy Queen,
Mhm.
and that's why I got out of shape, bro. Like because
Eating
this
that
was
ice cream.
eating that ice cream, and this was the one they made food too. So they had like chicken tenders, French fries, burgers. Bro, I was turning that stuff up.
Yeah, that's the worst. Fast food place is the worst places to work at, man.
Man,
Before I
yeah.
joined the Navy, I used to work at the Pittsburgh International Airport at
Okay.
McDonald's. But for the most part, I worked out in the lobby. So, but
Hmm.
still, like, yeah, we eat food. But working out in the lobby was better. Working on the inside because you get a chance to meet the different people. You meet celebrities coming through. So,
Mm,
yeah, I
yeah.
prefer to work out in the lobby. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Everybody love their McDonald's,
Yeah, and
especially.
then that one they sold pizza, popcorn. They had like extra stuff on the menu.
Yo,
Yeah,
what?
yeah, they had like extra stuff that most McDonald's don't have.
I
Yep.
remember speaking of like unique McDonald's, I got to be deployed to Europe for training in Germany, and they had beer on the menu. They also their burgers was like real meat. Like it was heavy. I remember that. And I remember when I got there, it was like within like the first few weeks I gained like 10 pounds of muscle because all that real protein. Like it was the craziest thing ever.
All right. What you saying that the next question I was going to ask is places you've been stationed and deployed to.
So I never actually deployed, which is crazy because I had a
Mhm.
combat oriented job.
Yeah.
I only served 3 years, so that was my contract length. For some
Okay.
reason, I happened to land a 3-year contract because after I got in, after a few years, I realized that really hardly anybody had a contract that short. Like the least amount was like 4 years,
Yeah. 4.
and and that was still rare. It was really a lot of people were taking like 6 to 8, and basically with that, I went to my main duty station was Fort Stewart, Georgia. That's where I was the entire time. I never deployed like a combat deployment because when I got there, my unit had just got back from a deployment. So
Okay.
I went in like during this like actual this window, this deployment window, because you take a few years off and then they'll go back again.
Yeah.
Usually like every 3 to 5 years or something like that with the
Mm-hmm.
combat oriented jobs. So yeah, I just missed that, and then I went to Europe 3 different times, and because things that were heating up with the with um, Russia and stuff like that. So they wanted to have, of course, more troops over there. So that's kind of why we were over there. And I didn't really go on like the main bases. It was mainly like we were pre-deployment training.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that like 3 different times in a year and a half, which is kind of unheard of because I mean you only do the box training, which is like the live action training really right before you deploy. So we just
Yeah.
ended up doing it over and over and over again. So basically it's like a big FTX where you're in the field for like a month straight, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Simulating real time scenarios. So it was kinda
Yeah.
gruesome. Being out there.
Yeah. So I deployed. I went to Iraq, and one of the things we did, we went to that Fort Jackson down in South Carolina
Hmm.
for combat training.
Yeah.
Fort Jackson was hecka hot, man. It was so hot down there. And then the army, you guys got to wear uniforms all the time, because like
Yeah.
when I deployed, we didn't even wear uniforms because I was with Navy Special Forces, so we didn't
Hmm.
wear uniforms. So, but man, the only people that was funny when we was over there, the only people that was wearing uniforms was the army. But
Wow.
and that's how it is now. You can be out 8, 9 o'clock at night. You'll see somebody in the army in their uniform.
I feel like the Marines would too. I feel like the Marines will wear the uniform all the time. That's wild. Yeah, I thought the first time I went to Germany, I was like, man, I'm gonna learn the language. I'm gonna get some of these girls, these German women, you know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh,
So I'm brushing up on the lingo, trying to figure out how to flirt. I was
uh-huh,
trying to be cute, so I packed a bunch of civvies. Man, when I got there, it was winter time, middle of winter, in the
uh-huh.
field, freezing, because I couldn't fit my winter gear there.
Hmm.
So, bro, I remember being in the sleeping bag, shaking, bro, like because we was outside, like
Uh-huh.
what I mean, on the ground. So I remember that was the coldest I've ever been. I couldn't get warm, so it's like I would be warm until like 3 hours in, when it started to get real late, like midnight, something like that. Yeah, I would just be up for the rest of the night because I'm so cold.
What part of Germany?
So it was Southern Bavaria. So it's a base called Grafavir, and we didn't get to be on the main base. It's a camp outside of, or it's like an attachment to the base called Camp Aachen, and that's where we was. So we was in like I don't even know how to explain it, man. It was like it felt like a big ass hallway the way it was shaped, and it was like bunk beds on each side. It was like 30 or 40 bunk beds on each side. We was kind of cooped up in there if we weren't in
Mhm.
the field. Yeah.
So yeah, I've been to Germany twice.
Mm-hmm.
The first, it was basically on our way to Iraq. We stayed in Ramstein,
Mm-hmm.
so we
Mm-hmm.
stayed there. So the Air Force flew us over in a C-17. So
Mm-hmm.
they claimed the airplane was broke, so we need to stay a night in Germany. So everybody went out. We went down to K Town.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody went out drinking, partying, because you're about to play. People saying like, we don't know if we're gonna make it back. So
Yeah.
everybody down there partying. But I have family in Germany, so
Mm-hmm.
my niece and nephew drove down to see me. So I took them with me. We all, were hanging out with everybody. So the next day, this was funny. Like I said, people were getting like smashed. This one
Mm-hmm.
dude, they call it was like real early. They call was like, all right, we got to leave in the next 30 minutes to get it. We got to get to the terminal in the next 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody, getting on the bus, and this one dude, man, they were knocking at his door for like maybe 10 minutes. They were about it was to the point they were about to leave him, man. When he came, like he finally opened the door, man was like all messed up. He was still drunk. He came on the bus, you could still smell it, man. He
Mm.
was towed up, man.
Yeah, yeah. In Ramstein, where everybody fly into, so
Yeah,
yeah, that makes sense. How's an Air Force base there?
yeah.
Yeah, that's wild, bro. I remember, man, we would sneak out because of course we couldn't go on main base, we couldn't go off base, we couldn't do nothing.
Mhm.
So we sneak out, and it was so funny because we grown folks and we sneaking out like kids, like trying to get out of the house. I remember I'd wait for my first sergeant. He on the other end, like fall asleep. And
Mhm.
then my platoon sergeant, shout out to Sergeant Samson, right? He a real one. So on the other end, I
Uh-huh.
was near his side. So I'd wait for him to go to sleep. And what I would do, I'd already have my clothes on that I was gonna wear to the club and all that. And I had sweats on top of it. So I'm in
Mhm.
the sheets with all that stuff on. And I act like I'm going to the bathroom, which is like across the street, and we just keep it moving. Like we
Mhm.
walk all the way on main base, and I don't know what's going on with my camera. Oh, there we go. We walk on main base,
Mhm.
and then we had to walk off base. But for some reason, our IDs never got flagged, so we was good. And so we would like take a cab or a train or something like that all the way out to what was it, Bamberg or Nuremberg, and I think it was a club, and yeah, it was like Bamberg and Nuremberg, which was like 45 minutes to an hour away. Man, when I tell you, we had so much fun on on those seldom nights, man.
Mhm.
Like just getting all the love from the German women,
Yeah.
and then having to sneak back on the camp and stuff like that because they had a curfew for us, so we had to like maneuver around everybody and around checkpoints and stuff like that. It was the craziest thing ever, man. The stuff we do just to have some
Uh-huh.
fun, man. We wasn't even allowed to go on main base. We would get hotel rooms and like all types of stuff. When we got to get one off, I remember we went to the red light district. I hope my wife ain't heard me. I told her. I probably told her. Went to the red light district, spent some
Uh-huh.
big bread, because that stuff, it's all green over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember that. That was an experience. Going down the
Yes.
street on a lit night, you know, and you see like 4 floors of windows. You know what I mean? Shorty's just yelling out to you, "Yo, hey, Poppy!" All type of stuff
Uh-huh.
get your attention. Man, I was like, "Yo, what?" And we was definitely told not to go out that joint. That
Yeah.
was even if you sneak out, do not go there. And me, this was I was underage too. Like I was between like 18. I got in when I was 18 and got out by the time I was 21. So so I was stuck on stupid. Man, yeah, everywhere they told us not to go, we went. Everywhere.
Yeah. So on our way back from Iraq, we stayed. The Navy has this thing called Warriors Transition, where
Hmm.
like they don't let you come straight back. So we stayed in Simbach, Germany for like a week,
Hmm.
and you talk to the shrink, and like what they try to do is slowly integrate you back. So they take us like on museum trips, like and stuff like that, and then you do like different like group sessions, talking and stuff like that. So
Hmm.
like I said, they slowly try to integrate you back. And like one of the guys there, he kept like he was adamant about he wanted to go to see the concentration camp. Like for some reason. That's all he
Hmm.
kept saying. Like, let's go to the concentration camp. Let's go to the concentration camp.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a good experience though. Even though
Did,
like
did y'all ever make
so
it
like
out there?
no, we never went to the concentration camp.
Oh dang, he
But
would never shut up there.
yeah. So like I wanted to get my own room, even though it was a bunch of bunks in the room because
Hmm.
it wasn't a lot of us. So I had my own room. There were a couple other people there at the same time. but it was
Hmm.
like maybe 5 to 6 bunks in there. But I was able to choose my own bunk, own room, basically. It was like I said, it was cool. You get to eat whenever you want. We was
Hmm.
over there like it was a New Year's, because we came back.
Hmm.
Yeah, I was over there for New Year's 2016 in Germany, coming back
Yeah.
from Iraq.
And I remember like when I first got divorced to her, I had a roommate, but it wasn't the same room. It was like an apartment. It was like a dorm style apartment where it was my room over here, his room over here, and it was like the common area, like the kitchen and
Hmm.
laundry and stuff like that. So that was lit. But then, cause of course we can, have our company over and all that, do our thing, have a good time. We ain't got to worry about nothing. We ain't got to worry about sharing
Uh-huh.
no space. Now, it did get on my nerves. He ain't never washed the dishes though. That like every time, bro. Like I always had to clean
Uh-huh.
up the kitchen, man, because I'm trying to have company over. You know what I mean? I don't need this.
Uh-huh.
I don't see like a whole, full of a sink full of dishes, stinking and all that because it's been sitting for a minute. I had time for that, man.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So anyway, I remember when we switched units though, we had roommates and it was like the same room. Like I couldn't stand that. So it was I got room with a guy that was in another unit, and so they moved him out. And I heard that another guy in my unit didn't have a two beds in his room, so he didn't get a roommate. So I got to thinking, I was like, "Oh, wait till he get out of there." Took that bed apart so quick and stuffed it
Uh-huh.
like in the back of the closet because we had like this long. It was like a deep, narrow closet. So I stuffed it back there, put my gear in front of it, my duffel and rug and all that in front of it.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, I was like, oh, so I ain't got no other bed, you know.
Yeah.
I got out of having a roommate, bro. I love that. So I got like
Yeah.
an extra big room there.
So like at my first duty station, I didn't have a roommate for a long time.
Hmm.
Because my chief, which is E7 in the Navy, he hooked it up to where like he wouldn't like let me get a roommate.
Hmm.
So yeah, eventually I got one. It was this dude from South Carolina, funny
Hmm.
dude. But yeah, I ain't have like a year or two. I ain't have no roommates. But when I got to my second duty station, once you're E5, like how you were saying, set up, you got two rooms and then you got
Hmm.
the common area with the kitchen and everything. I had all that to myself. So that
Hmm.
was all mine. Like, man, I was living it up, man. You couldn't tell me anything. Didn't have
Yeah. Yeah. Only
yeah.
reason, the only thing I didn't like about my second room, even though I didn't have a roommate, it wasn't really like a full kitchen. So it was like a sink and a drain board. Like it was kind of in some cabinets. So it wasn't like no stove and nothing, no oven. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it had like the two little heat things, had a fridge, all that, man, when I got to my second duty station.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I had a fridge, so that was a plus. The second set of barracks they had us in was like some old World War II barracks.
Mm-hmm.
And it made it on Army What the Fuck moments because um I remember it was this room and it was like full of black mold. It's like, yo, what is that? Whole time it's in the room in my building. Whole time. You talk about Army What the Fuck moments. That's like the whole army. Like there's a
Uh-huh.
whole military really. So, you know what I mean? It could have been anywhere. It was in my building. I was like, yo, you gotta be kidding me right now. Like, that's coming
Uh-huh.
through the vents, bro. Like, come on now.
So when you came in, was the who was in charge of like the barracks, the army, or was it privatized then?
It was the army.
Okay.
Yeah, it was the army because we had to go through them to in process and do the room inspection and all that
Yeah.
and sign out the room. So I'm pretty sure it was army.
Yeah. That's how it
Yeah.
was when I came in. Like the Navy and the military was in charge. If you didn't keep a good like in base housing, they kicked the guy out because he had a dirty house in base housing. I remember that. There was a
Wow.
guy my first duty station. Well, that was partially the reason why he got kicked out. Sound dirty
Hmm.
house, but
Yeah.
him and his wife. So it's like the story's like this. All right, so you got Sailor A, who's married. All right,
Hmm.
so Sailor A, and then you got Sailor B.
Hmm.
So Sailor A, him and his wife have a threesome with Sailor B's wife. So eventually, Sailor B's wife started to feel bad, and then she went and told Sailor B. She went and confessed to her husband that she had a threesome with Sailor A and his wife. So he got pissed, came into work saying like he wanted something done. And I guess he knew that they had a dirty house. And he told them on top of that, like, they got a dirty house. Y'all need to do an inspection. And they did. They did it. Boom. They did an inspection that day.
Yo, I
Yeah.
just heard this term "dirty macking," and that's
Hmm.
the definition of it
Yeah,
right
that
there,
is salt shaking, dirty macking. I mean, but
bro.
like, here's the thing. They shouldn't have did that. I don't know, man. I just feel as though they should have, like, if you're gonna do something like that, don't do it with somebody that live down the street from you. Like,
Fact, fact. I mean, bro, like the decision making be crazy. Like I made a video about this. It's about arrangements, like contract marriages, because it's it's a lot of incentives to get married in the military. Of course, you get
mhm,
double the pay. If you marry somebody that's already in the military, it's like quadruple the pay basically because y'all both get double pay.
mhm.
Stuff like that. You get to live in a house, and you know what I mean. But a lot of people get married too early, so it's always a lot of that stuff going on, man.
Man, way too early. When I first came in, you had to do a, like, a request shit. You had to request all that. You couldn't
Nah,
just you couldn't just go out in town and get married. You had to
yo,
request that.
they was putting
Yeah.
rings on everything, bro. Like it was wild. Like,
Like, here's another thing that people don't understand. When these people get married for the extra money,
mhm.
you splitting that between two people. Like, it's not just you getting this extra, 1,000 or 500,000. It's not just all going to your. You gotta, if it's not an arranged marriage to where she gonna live, but if you marrying her to live off post or whatever, that's you splitting that.
Mhm.
Like, bills, you gonna pay bills, and it's yeah, it's the worst decision these teenagers can do at that time. I just think they should just
Yeah.
wait. They
Yeah.
being, I think a lot of it is, you know what I think it is? A
But
lot of guys, even girls, are homesick,
mhm.
so they want to recreate their family unit because they're not going
Mm.
to go back home. So they recreate their family unit where they're at.
Mhm.
So they feel as though they're good at that point. But
Yeah.
man, I've seen it happen so many times, man. I would tell people jokingly when, like, they're about to deploy something, I'm like, "Hey, man, when you get back, man, you'll be getting divorced." Like, just saying it jokingly. This guy, I said to this one guy, he was about to deploy, and I said that to
Mhm.
him. He came back in the middle of deployment. "What you doing back early?" "Oh, I'm getting divorced, man. My wife is doing this, doing that." It just never fails. Like in the Navy has these thing called the construction battalion. So, like,
Mhm.
any type of construction, like, type of rates, we call them rates, like jobs. Those
Mhm.
guys, when I first came in, they did 7 months out, 7 months in.
Mhm.
So I was like dating a girl, when I first got there. And eventually, like, months later, she was like, "Hey, I'm not gonna be able to come over anymore." I'm like, "Okay, what's up?" Like, "Yeah, my husband's coming back." I'm like, "You married? It's been like 3 months."
Oh, by the way,
Yeah, yeah. But
thank you
like I
for
said, she was,
occupying my time in the meantime.
yeah. But yeah, like I said, she brought me around her family, and like Thanksgiving. Yeah, brought me to the house for Thanksgiving and all that, everything.
Ruthless, bro. They ruthless out here, man. I'm telling, like, like I
Hmm.
remember, and to your point earlier, before I go into my story,
Uh-huh.
man, like that makes so much sense that they try and bring home with them because I notice a lot of the guys they bring a chick from their hometown and marry,
Hmm.
and it's like right after that cupcake effect is over with, that's when like the spouse will run wild, and that's when friends will start smashing, and like they just out there. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Then it's like this whole cycle. Then they get into it. Cops get called. Somebody might end up getting hurt. Like the the other person that was the third wheel in the relationship and stuff like that, or like the guy and the girl get caught arguing and cops get called and they get these domestic violence charges. Like it's crazy.
Yeah,
Crazy. Happens
some
so
of these,
many times.
yeah, so many times, man. Man, we had a
Mm.
guy like it's funny, but I'm thinking about it because recently, this guy was on social media, but he blocked me. Right? I said it joking. Check this out. So I said it to him jokingly, like, "Yo, man, I'm gonna do a story about you when we were stationed together." And at
Mhm.
first, he was like, "Man, I don't care. You do a story about me. You ain't got nothing on me." I'm like, "Oh, really? I don't got nothing on you." So eventually, like later on, like that day, he reached back out to me, messaged me back, man. Don't put nothing out about me, because he knew he thought about it at first. Once he thought about it, he knew I had some dirt on him. So then, like, I just sent like a LOL, and then after he read it, he blocked me. I guess he felt disrespected. So after that, I did a story about the guy. So I'm gonna tell you this story. So this guy, he's from New York. This guy is funny. So
Mhm.
he's a Muslim,
Mhm.
but yet he confessed to me he had this thing for redheaded white women. He was a
Mhm. Yeah. Wait a minute. Chill.
you see what I'm saying? So there was
Yeah, out
this
here eating pork, man. Come on, man.
so there was this redheaded married woman. She had his reputation. She was sleeping around, and he made his way over there. Sleep with her too. But
Mhm.
I guess I don't know if she was trying to break up with him or what. But
Mhm.
she something happened. Like he basically like he didn't want to like leave or whatever,
Mhm.
and he wound up pushing his way into her house. She wound up calling like base police and stuff. Yeah, man, dude was wild. He was wild, man. He broke down to me. But check this out. My whole time in the military, for some reason, people would tell me like secrets, like stuff. I'm just like, why are you telling me, man? Like if anybody knows me, I'm the silliest person. For some reason, people want to tell me like stuff like that's very personal. And I'm just to myself, I'm like, I'm the last person I would tell something like that to. It's like, man, some people would tell me some like serious personal stuff, and I'm just like, why is this person telling me this, man? I'm like,
I get that too, and I found out that because of my personality, people feel like I'm not going to judge them,
that
so
could
they
be it.
feel comfortable with like making that like confession.
Uh,
Which is wild.
wild stories, man.
I remember, I remember one of the homies. He was with this chick's wife, and he was he was like driving his car. He's wearing the guy's clothes, like
Wearing his clothes as
and
well.
like like his shoes, bro. Like, come on, bro. And she was like, "Oh, don't even worry about it. Yeah, you can go ahead." Like, encouraging it. I'm
Mm,
just driving his car too. Like, dude, dude had like a nice Mustang or something like that. And I'm like, yo, this man like flexing in his car and in his house and just over there like it's his crib. And sometimes it would even be like the spouses would have kids too, and the person would be around their kids. It's like, oh my gosh, bro.
yeah.
You feel for some people because I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it because I was thinking about, man, yo, like that would be devastating. Like, what if my chick was doing that? Like, I couldn't fathom.
Uh-huh.
Couldn't fathom how ruthless they could be. Like, no, no
Hmm.
way. Yeah, man. Them Jody letters real though, man. Them,
I never got none of those, but I'm not gonna say I was strategic when it came to dating.
just,
But I like to like when I was living in the barracks, I would date girls who lived downtown
mm-hmm.
because they couldn't just pop up on you.
Mm,
That was one of the things, yeah. So if you date a girl in the military, she can
mm-hmm.
just pop up at any time. And I
Facts.
I had this one this one lady, she just wanted to pop up one day. So I didn't have nobody in my room. It was just me and my boys playing video games. I just
Mm-hmm.
left her at the door knocking. To prove a point, like I told her, like, call before you come,
Facts. Like you gotta hold that down. You gotta send that message. No unannounced guests. Okay?
Uh-huh. That's the thing about
None.
it. Like I said earlier, they would have, if somebody just came to the base, like try to pop up,
Hmm.
the gate guards would be there to stop them. The gate guards maybe would call or just may automatically turn them around. So that
Yeah.
was one of the reasons, like, yeah, to date somebody out in town. But some of them, most of them, you got to watch because, like, I never had nobody proposition me a lot, but I've seen some guys like get taken through the ringer, man, dating these
Mhm.
girls. It's like, man, what was you thinking, man? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I remember it was this chick I was dating for a little bit, and we were just cool. Like I just planned on being friends. She
mm-hmm,
had other plans. And I didn't know till we was at like a friend's cookout or something like that, friends gathering.
mm-hmm.
It just all came out. She had just one shot, all came out. Like, yo, what? Like, confess your whole life to me. Like, what's going on? Anyway, she was in a long-term relationship, and somehow they broke up. And just like the movies, the guy come back and propose out of nowhere. And she was like, I don't know if she said yes or what, and then ghosted him, or just said no and ghosted him. I don't know what it was. But either way, it was like a thing there it was no closure there. So it was still there. But we started kicking it. To me, I'm not dating. You know what I mean? We just kicking it, right? I remember we was kicking it for a minute. So, I'm like, okay, we good. This our thing right here.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I was in there butt naked, sleep, snoring and everything, bro. Just got a meal cooked for me. Life was great. I remember I heard a knock on the door. We was in her room. I heard a knock. I'm like, what the fuck going on? And she woke up. She was like a little scared, a little shook. I'm like, what the fuck going on, man? You know what I mean? Like, I'm rolled over. You know what I mean? I ain't tripping about nothing. Like, no answer. You know what I mean? So it kept somebody kept knocking, and then her phone started ringing off the hook over and over and over and over again. She's like damn near sweating. I'm like, yo, what is going on right now?
Mm-hmm.
The whole time it was that guy, and basically she told me I had to go. I said, what? Me? You the one who told him no. Or whatever you did, you ghosted the guy. And my black ass had to climb out the window. I said,
Come
ain't
on.
this some shit? Man, it was cold that night too. I just remember I was like, "That's some bullshit." I was like, "Are you serious?" I was disgusted. I was like, "Are you kidding me with this man? And you just gonna kick me out like this, me?" I was like, "I'm open the door." You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Let him come in. You know what I mean? But nah, I took. I don't know if you call this the high road or what, but I listened to her, snuck out the window, walked around. And then on top of that, I ain't have a whip then, so I had to walk, So it was like a
Mm.
walk of shame. I felt my own walk of shame. Like I'm
Yeah,
used to people do the walk of shame. I'm
yeah.
doing it now. I'm over here like cursing around, like this is some bullshit, man. You got me kicked out. I'm half asleep, cracking still in
Uh-huh.
my eyes. I was getting good to rest. Man, I was pissed, bro. Yeah, and it was like a few blocks away. It wasn't that far away, but it was the principle, bro. The
Yeah,
principle.
I ain't never had nothing crazy like that. Only thing, like one thing I had happen. I don't know what y'all call it in the army. Have the
Hmm.
boot camp, the school you go to learn your job. The Navy, we call it A school.
We call it ALC. No,
Okay,
not ALC. What's it called, man? Either way, yeah. Something similar. But yeah, I know what you're talking about.
so this is how the story goes.
Hmm.
So my my school was in Meridian, Mississippi.
Hmm.
So I'm going from Great Lakes, Illinois, is where our boot camp was at. So I'm
Hmm.
going to Meridian, Mississippi. So I wound up getting bumped. They were like, we'll give you money if you're willing to get bumped on the
Hmm.
flight. So they gave me a couple $100. So,
Mhm.
I came by myself pretty much. So
Mhm.
I pull up in the cab up to A school. When I get there,
Mhm.
this girl walks up. Like, I guess she sees me when I get out. She walks up, she takes my sea bag. Mind you, the sea bags is heavy.
Mhm.
She's willing to carry my sea bag all the way to the quarter deck with me when I check in, and even when I go to my room, carry my sea bag, right?
Mhm.
So the next morning when it's time for like breakfast,
Mhm.
guess who's standing right out front? The same girl. Every day it was like clockwork. And everybody's like, oh, you got you a fan every day. Like, I couldn't check her. She was there every day, just boom, pop up, just be out
Yo,
there
why was
waiting for
Shorty
me.
so consistent? Like, what's going on here? Like, you trying to get in America or something like that? What's
Yeah.
going on, man?
No, she was in the military. She was in the military too. But it was
Okay.
just like she was just there every day, man, outside the door, man. And it was
Wow.
like everybody, talking, oh, they together. I'm just like, nah, man, it's
Got Shorty trained. Like, what's going on? What you did to her, bro? Like, I would have been asking the same thing. Like, what's going on, bro? You put
hey,
glue on her or something? Like, what?
all I did was check in, man. I was just checking in.
All you did was get out the cab, bro. Like,
Uh,
wow. So how did that pan out? Like, what?
how you think it panned out?
I don't
Eventually,
know.
yeah,
Y'all still together?
eventually.
Y'all got married? What's going on?
No,
Y'all got
no,
three
no. She
babies?
want she
Oh.
wanted to,
Mhm.
and we'll check it. So we, eventually, over time, like one time I stood her up, like in the beginning, because she was other ethnicity, and I wasn't
Mhm.
really with it at the time. But after a couple months,
Mhm.
you like you got to get it. But one weekend we supposed to go
Trying to
out,
wear on you,
you
huh?
know, yeah. So one weekend we
Okay.
were supposed to go stay at the hotel. I stood her up, eventually. Even after standing her up, she still would show up every day at the
Mhm.
door and everything. Yeah. So eventually, yeah, we during that time in A school, and she wanted to get married. So at first, I'm just like, okay, we can do that. We do it like, you know, on the last day, just so I can, keep things going. You know,
Hey, chill, see, keep things
so
going.
it's like during that last week when I was there, I'm like, hey, yo, this I can't do this. Yeah.
Yo, what? Yo, and how did she react? Like, what was this like?
Oh, she lost it, man. She lost
They
it.
lost it? Yo, what was it? What we got? Like a crazy, ugly cry or something? Or
Yeah, crying and telling everybody. And she had
yo,
my jacket, threw my jacket up in the tree.
dang, up in the tree?
Yeah, up in the tree.
Did you go get it?
No, I didn't.
Dang,
Somehow
you.
somebody got it down and they wound up giving it to me.
Oh
But yeah,
wow. It's like I ain't getting that jacket.
yeah. Oh, and listen to this. This is a part two to that story.
Mm-hmm.
So, back this was the 90s. So
Mm-hmm.
in the 90s, after when I left, we lost communication. But then
Mm-hmm.
social media came up. So
Mm-hmm.
we wound up connecting on social media, like when Facebook was like first new. And
Mm-hmm.
she wound up asking me for my number, and she
Mm-hmm.
called me and like we was talking, and she was telling me like she thinks something's going on between her husband and her sister. And I'm like, really? Why would you think that? She was like, this is a pattern. She was like, my sister has always done this. Every guy she's ever dated, her sister has come along and messed with them, whether it was at the same time or after, right? I'm like,
Oh.
no, I don't think your sister would do that. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna find out. So I reached out to her sister, right? And it's
Mm-hmm.
just like, who are you? I'm like, oh, I used to date your sister. Well, first I was just like, oh, I'm just a friend, this and that. So I think I heard of you, and I'm like, yeah, I used to date your sister. Once I said that,
Mm-hmm.
her conversation completely changed. I'm just like, oh, her like how she wanted to start pursuing me. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just like, I felt bad. Like at that point, it let me know like she know her sister was sleeping with her husband because from once I said I used to date her sister, like her conversation changed 100%, and it was just like she was getting very aggressive with the conversation and trying to take it there. I'm just like, in my head, I'm just like, man, like she's
Yo,
sleeping with her sister's husband.
Yo, that's wow. Like that's kind of sick, bro. Like, bro, what kind of dirty fetish is that? Like, I just want every man you want. I forget it. All the rest of them. Like, what?
No,
What?
right?
Yo, that's wild, bro.
Maybe she didn't like her sister. That's the reason behind it. I don't know.
Bro, that's crazy. I remember I was dating this chick and she was very attractive. Tall, she was a tall chick. I remember I met her on like Tinder or something like that. Them dating apps. And I remember she said I'm like 5'10" or something like that. And I met her, I swear she was like 6'1", bro. Like she's tall as fuck, bro. Like gorgeous though. And she was trying to get into modeling and stuff like that. I remember she had a kid, and she was doing her thing. And, cool chick and everything. We was kicking it for a little bit. And I remember I ran into her in the mall one day and she had on heels and she had on like 6-inch heels. So,
Yeah.
6'1" plus 6, she was 6'7", bro. Like, I mean, like I was looking up like, hey, how you doing? I remember she was so tall, and I'm not that tall of a guy. I'm like 5'8". You know what I mean? So I was like, hey, let's sit down. Let's sit down. Let's sit next to me. It's like, yo, shorty was so tall, bro. Like, I didn't realize, like, yo, like dating a chick, she's basically a foot taller than me.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, like, bro, like that's tall. Like, I couldn't wrap my head around it. Like, shorty's like super tall. It's
Mm-hmm.
already 6'1". Like, yeah. And I'm like, how do guys even do this? Like, how short guys like tall women, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they that tall. That's, we used to call them like Amazons.
Yeah.
You can climb that mountain, you know what I mean? Gotta do a Sasquatch.
Yeah.
I was a
Uh,
mountain climber back in the day. Yeah, 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 yeah.
well, so get back to this question. You mentioned like Germany was one of
Mm-hmm,
the places you've been and you enjoyed it there.
mm-hmm,
So like I've been to Germany as well. I would say the best place that I had the most fun where I had been was in Puerto Rico. Like
mm,
I was 19 years old, fresh in the Navy. They sent me to Puerto Rico, sent me there twice each time for a whole month. Gave me
mm-hmm.
a rent a car. So for me, Puerto Rico was like, man, that place. It was a beautiful place, beautiful people, and I had the time of my life there.
Wait, they gave a 19-year-old a rental car and put him in a country that likes you, that likes
Like
your type of people,
love, it was love down there.
love your kind of people. What?
Man, I was all over that island, man. All over, man. It was,
Running
it was,
through it.
yeah, it was, yeah, that was a crazy place. Yeah, and then I wound up running into some people like, because Navy ain't that big. Wound into
Mm-hmm,
some people that I knew from from other places.
mm-hmm,
So yeah, hanging out. But yeah, it was, and that base. They closed that base since then. It
mm-hmm.
was the biggest base in the Western Hemisphere. That base, it would take just from the barracks to get to like work. It was like a half hour. Like it was a
Puerto
huge
Rico?
base. Yep.
Puerto
Roosevelt
Rico ain't
Rose.
even that big out here.
Roosevelt Rose was a huge base. That
Wow, and
was a huge base. They
it's
shut it
not there
down.
anymore. Oh, they shut it
Right.
down.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
wow, bro. What?
Yeah. That base was, and that's where like one of the stories I told on my channel about my boy O,
Mm-hmm,
because I knew this girl. She went to A school with me, and
mm-hmm,
she was down there. She was Samoan, and
mm-hmm,
she liked my boy O.
mm-hmm,
But Otis, for some reason, he thought I had, used to mess with her or something like that. Because me and
mm-hmm.
her was just cool like that.
Yeah.
But she kept like trying to get with Otis, and he was like, "Nah, man, I can't." And I'm just like, "Why, man?" He's like, "My girlfriend gonna find out." I'm like, "How's your girlfriend gonna find out, man?" He's like, "My stroke gonna be off when I go back." I was like, "You overthinking this, man?"
She must have been prettier than his girl then, like or something. Like
But listen to this. When we got back, his girl, so his girl had kids with a guy in the military, so she had base access. So she was like basically like waiting for us like outside of our squadron. When
Hmm.
we came out, she was like, "Where are the receipts?" And I'm like standing there, like she like walked up to me and him. We came out like talking, stuff talking about stuff we done, stuff like that. She
Hmm.
came up and was like, "Where are the receipts?" I'm just like, like standing there, like, oh. I
That's
just wound
wild,
up
bro.
walking off, man. I just walked off, like
That's
let him deal
wild.
with that.
Yo, already had a
Yeah.
kid with somebody on base, had base access. Like that's wild.
Yeah, like if you get married, like when people get divorced
Hmm.
and they have kids, so the
Hmm.
kids still, kids still have access to go to the MTF.
Hmm.
So that parent gets it too.
Oh, that makes
If the
sense.
parents got to take them to the medical appointments and stuff, on
Yeah,
base
yeah,
like that,
yeah.
so they still get that access. It's like limited, but they
Hmm.
still get that access.
That's
Yeah,
wild, bro. That's like a couple red flags right there, bro. It's
yeah.
like,
She was one of those ones he just wanted to live off base, and they're like,
oh,
it don't be worth it, man. It
no,
don't be.
yeah, no. But a kid with somebody else that's on their base too? No.
Yeah.
Decisions, man. Mm-mm.
So during your time in the army, were there any type of special programs you learned about, like while you were in there, that people may not know about?
I remember the last 6 months I was in. It was called HBI, which is Home Builders Institute, and what they did was they taught you about construction technology. So basically, like your trades, and they were like a pre-apprenticeship. So they weren't a full apprenticeship, but it was a pre, like it was like the prerequisite for it. And they
Mhm.
they they like put you on and trained you like for like different types of things like scaffolding, like doing like drywall, roofing, plumbing, electrical stuff. Like it kind of showed you that, so you kind of have some skills, the start of some skills for when you transition out, and then you can continue on with that journey using your education benefits. Um, I thought that was smooth, and they have a lot more programs now. A lot more. Like they got, I mean, now you can go into technology fields, you can go into all types of fields and do training, and you can get a job up to 6 months before you even get out. Like it's kind of crazy how they got it set up now. So you could really be in a great position, leveraging your clearance and
Yep.
whatever else if you want to get some certs, which I think a lot of people, and I wish I took advantage of, was also too is tuition assistance. That's paying for your college while you still in, so you could pursue your education. I mean, like for me, I had a lot of free time. I was just trying to get with chicks the whole time and work out. So I had some time to do some schooling or get a certification or something,
Yeah.
and that don't take away from your GI Bill when you get out. You're not using any of that. That's separate. So like if you play it right, think about it. Use your tuition assistance, get a degree, like a bachelor's. You get out, use your GI Bill, get your
Mhm.
master's, and really use voc rehab. If you get at least a 10% disability, you can get a dang near doctorate.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah. If you
that's
play
kind
it
of
right.
crazy. Yeah, like and for free, and get paid to do it when you
Yeah.
get out. So like people, I don't think a lot of people realize that, and I think a lot of veterans don't realize that they're going to get out someday. You know what I
Uh-huh.
mean? Like no matter what, you're going to get out someday. Like you're going to get out someday. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
even if you retire, you're still getting out. Most people retire after what, 20, 30 years.
Hmm.
So if you get in when you're 18 and when you do 20, you're what, 38?
Yep.
A lot of life left. If you do 30 years, you're what, 48? Like, come on now. You know? So yeah, a lot of people don't realize that. Now I've been trying to, on my channel, because I teach about veteran benefits, I try to get to
Mhm.
grab those people that are still in and let them know, hey, start getting your paperwork together. So when you get ready to get out, you can, get a nice percentage, disability
Mhm.
percentage. So you're already getting that money, you know. Unlike me, which, I got out because I just want to get out, bro. I had that itch. Get me out of here. They already tried to kick me out 3 different times anyway. You know, over some BS.
Real?
Bro, what? They tried to kick me out 3 different times. The army tried to downsize. The army downsized. And, you know, basically with my unit, the folks that wasn't in the clique, you know, wasn't, you know, y'all weren't hanging out and stuff outside of work, they wanted you out of there. So it was like they tried to make up like council statements, all types of stuff, basically, because you need 3 to get an Article 15, and then they kick you out, and then they got a real case to kick you out and stuff like that. And nothing would stick because just so happened I wasn't actually a bad soldier. Who would have thought? You know? But yeah. But I think veterans have a lot of benefits, even while you're still in, that you can take advantage of. Even like changing jobs. Like I was actually going to go into counterintelligence. So I was going to go from a combat role to counterintelligence. I was going to get a top secret clearance. And that's an actual skill set I could get out of the military and get paid pretty good money, you know, in the private sector or government sector. So along with that clearance. So I think a lot of people don't realize that too, the reclass. Or, you know, something in the Army is called Go Green and Gold. And that's when you could go from enlisted to non-enlisted. You know, where you could go to like you can be officer. Or what I wanted to do, I wanted to be a warrant officer, which is like that in between.
Yeah.
You're not really an officer.
Yeah, we got those too. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was like, you know, and every time I seen those guys, I was like, well, I don't know what the heck he does. It looks like he doesn't really do much of nothing. So he just tell people what to do, and nobody's gonna mess with you because they scared of your rank anyway, because they don't understand it. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's so many different benefits that have been offered, that are being offered to people right now, to active duty veterans or active duty military, and they look over it. They just trying to have a good time and stuff like that. But after a while, you gotta really lock in and figure something out.
Yeah.
Because, you know, your military salary is only one salary. You know, I mean, eventually you're going to cap out, because the higher you rank up, the less positions it is, the harder it is to get to those positions. And really, when you start to get in those political type positions, you know, it's a lot of, you don't know the right people. You know what I mean? And, you know, then it can be even harder, you know, to move up. So I think people don't realize that. And plus, like, you know, a lot of veterans now, they're starting to realize that they can have like a side gig while they're in, you know what I mean? Like, as long as it ain't impeding with your duties and stuff like that. But, you know, like I'm seeing military soldiers with podcasts or businesses, and, you know, like real estate portfolio, you know, leveraging their VA home loan, you know, stuff like that. Like, there's so many different options. You know, like even having a fleet of Turo vehicles, you know, to rent on Turo. You know, like there's a lot you can do. And, you know, especially when you're in the military, something I learned was, you know, like the banks and credit unions, they willing to give you money. They willing to throw money your way, because you got a guaranteed paycheck. You know what I'm saying? Like, they know you're going to get paid the 1st and the 15th. Like, it ain't going to change. Whether you can't work at all and you hurt, you know, you're on profile, you know, whether you know what I mean? It don't matter. It don't matter whether you getting surgery, you're gonna be out for a year. Don't matter. You getting paid. So banks love it. I remember Navy Federal, they gave your boy a $20,000 credit card. I said, damn. And boy, you talk about, and then I got me a Star card, of course. You know, that's with the exchange, and I balled out. You know, I was at the strip club. You know what I'm saying? Couldn't drink, but I was at the strip club throwing that credit card money, all type of stupid stuff. But yeah, you know, of course, I don't condone and, you know, underage drinking or maxing out credit cards, but I'm just saying, you could leverage that money, you know.
Yeah. So one of the things that I didn't notice, I was 18, 19 years in the Navy. When I
Mm-hmm.
found out like you mentioned counterintelligence,
Mm-hmm.
when I was in Iraq, I met this girl. She was a human lie detector. That was like her job.
Oh
Yep.
wow.
It's called like human. So she was a human lie detector. That was her job.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't know we even had those type of jobs in the Navy. So there's
So
like
you.
a whole nother side like within the intel. So
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I didn't know we had jobs like that. But like you was mentioned earlier, we do have, where people can go from enlisted to officer. We have different programs like that as well. We have the LDO program, like you mentioned as well, in the Navy. So there's all different type of programs. And one of the programs, because this is a question that question I asked a lot of other veterans. I had this E9, so E9 in the Navy is a master chief. So
Mm-hmm.
he mentioned this program which I had forgot about. It's called
Mm-hmm.
oh man, I forget the name of the duty, but it's like if your mother or father was sick, basically that's your job. The Navy will send you back home, and that's your job. Just take care of
Oh,
your
you'd be like
parents.
a caregiver.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
That's
It's only
man.
for a certain period of time, but that's your job. Yeah. Yep.
Wow. Yeah. You know, it's two people that I know. Um, One of my old homies in Aristotle from Honey Drip Network,
Hmm.
and they both did like a side gig where they had opportunities to be barbers while they were in.
Hmm.
Like one of them got trained to be a barber while he was in the army. Aristotle did, and he
Yeah.
started, charging for that service, of course. And of course, he was making big bread on the side. Or like the other guy, his dad was a barber, so he kind of knew how to cut hair. So that was just kind of his side hustle, getting people right. And I
That's a
think it's
job in the Navy. Yeah, that's actually a job. That's what people do. Yep, in the Navy, cut hair.
yeah, yeah. Like
Yep.
I think, matter of fact, he was in the Navy, and yeah, when he was on the ships, that was his job as a barber.
Hmm.
And
Yep.
yeah, you get paid big bread, especially you get that fade right. Dude's gonna be running
Yeah.
to you. You get that cut,
Yeah,
So.
there's some jobs. I would say probably in all branches. There's some
Mhm.
jobs that do, that are relevant where you get out, you can get a job. There's some jobs like, yeah, we had this saying in the Navy, choose your rate, choose your fate. But there's some
Mm,
jobs that don't translate when you get out at all. So like unfortunately, that happens.
yeah, that's a bar. Choose your rate or choose your fate, and make sure the job translate when you get out. That's fire. That's fire. I don't know if you meant to do that, but that's fire. Yeah, that's the facts. Cause I was just thinking the other day. I was like, man, my dumb ass. I got out because I had engineer in my job title. I thought I qualified to be engineer. I walked up in the engineering building. They looked at me like I was stupid. It's like, what? You ain't got no degree, no certification, nothing. Man,
uh,
get out of here. Like, oh,
uh,
screw me. Serve my country, sir. Like, you talking to me right.
yeah,
Yeah. Then I made that transition to IT. So
yeah,
yeah, that was one heck of a process, but it paid
mhm.
off. Paid off for sure.
Yeah. It's definitely that translate. IT translate.
People act like anybody can do IT, by the way. I mean, like we all deal with computers, phones,
Hmm.
electronics, like you know, Amazon, Amazon homes, home joints, the speaker joints. Like
Yeah.
you work with technology, so you can qualify. I mean, it ain't that hard. So I don't know why more people don't get in the IT field, and
Hmm.
it's a necessary field. So then the more you learn, the more essential you are to a company. So of course, the more bread they're gonna throw your way. So I don't know, man. I don't know.
So this next one, I want to get into what you're doing now, like with your channel. But
Hmm.
I think I mentioned this before. I used to work for the Physical Disability Board for Review. So
Hmm.
anybody who was medically discharged from any branch
Hmm.
from 2001, September 11th, 2001
Hmm.
until I think 2020, if
Hmm.
the person submitted a application, we would review their case. Some people they're where they would go from maybe 10%, to 50. Some people wind up getting 100%. medically discharged. So I was able to, see, because it was similar. We actually used the VA's like database. We had
Mhm.
access to view their records and stuff like that. So we saw. I got a chance to see the other side. Something similar to what goes on with the VA, and but I would say this is part of the downfall, like
Mhm.
that I saw with a lot of veterans, and part of it I understand, and then part of it I don't.
Mhm.
Um, so I did the mailbox, and I did like all the Q&A of all the applications that would come in, right?
Mhm.
So
The claims applications
yeah,
for
so
the
a lot of
vehicle.
hmm yeah,
Okay.
so a lot
So.
of these people I would see like so they would email the mailbox
Mhm.
upset about, I understand sometimes you can be upset that it's taking too long for you, but a lot of these most of it be the Marines
Mhm.
email cussing. I like all, just they didn't went left, right?
Egg on
There was
jar
one
heads.
there was one guy in particular. I'm
Mhm.
like, oh no, today ain't the day. So I
Mhm.
went looked up in the system his number, got his number. I
Mhm.
called my man up. I'm like, hey, I called him up, and before I got off the phone, he apologized because like they would assume that people that work there aren't veterans. They just
Mm.
assume that, yeah, oh, you're some civilian, you don't know nothing about the military. Like
Mhm.
I'm like, look, man, I'm in the same boat as you. There's a lot of other people. I told him, I was like, you know what they would do? They probably would put your case to the bottom. But while I got you on the phone, I'm gonna go look up and see what's going on. I'm gonna talk to the team, and that's what I did. I'm like, hold on. I went over there, but like that, I guess that's the reason why he apologized because I told him, I'm gonna look at his case and see what's going on. But yeah, I would get people cussing, pissed off. We even had people who were in jail. Like it didn't matter what your situation was.
Mhm.
There was this guy who was like in Kentucky prison. It was a prison or penitentiary. He'd be
Mm.
emailing in about his case. He would write in about his case.
That's wild, bro.
Uh huh. Then you get some
Wow.
people. They'd be like, "I'm gonna call my congressman." I'm like, "Okay, here's my information. You can tell him to call me, right?" Because this is all what happens.
Mhm.
They will report to the congressman. It's going to go to a staffer. A staffer's going to contact me and ask me where their case is at. That's all that would happen, and I would get the information to them every time. And
Mhm.
they were like, "Well, what did you tell them?" I told them this is exactly what I told them. They
Mm.
didn't want to accept, where their case was at.
Mhm.
So these people sometimes like just don't want to hear. They don't want to hear what they want to hear. They only want to hear what they want to hear. So they want
Yeah.
to hear all their cases adjudicated, and what they're getting paid. Like we had one guy, he went from he was getting he got upgraded. In his case, he was because he didn't do 20 years, you can't get medical retirement and like the
Mm.
VA. So
Mhm.
when they would get the thing, they got to choose. They would have to make a choice.
Mm.
And
They
he didn't
couldn't
want to hear
double up.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
choice was
that's
like,
tough.
do you want your VA benefits or do you want this? And we couldn't tell them what you need to do. We would
Mhm.
just, this is your decision to make. He's like, no, I'm gonna get both. I'm going to my congressman. This is BS. I'm like, this is a law. I'm like,
Yeah.
you can do what you choose, you know. And then you would have like, remember how I said earlier, how some people would tell me like about personal stuff. Same thing when I would have to call people would call me about personal. This one guy, I never looked
Mhm.
into his case. This is what I started doing after a while. I started looking at people's cases to see
Mhm.
why they were emailing like off talking all crazy or calling and talking all crazy to see what was wrong with them. So it
Mhm.
started to give me insight on how to, deal with these people. Like this one
Mm.
guy, he was like, I don't he's like, and I wasn't even calling about this. I was just calling like, hey man, there's some information you missed, you didn't put in. We can't process it. He's like, I don't know why they were saying I was gay. I was dating Miss Filipino. I'm like, whoa, like where's this coming from, man? I'm trying to talk about your, get you to fill this information in, and he's talking about his sexuality or whatnot. I'm just like I would get like a lot of these, and I realize because I've worked with some people, I'm sure you've worked with some people. You be like, this person shouldn't be in the military. Like, there's no way they should have made it this far. Like, because some of these people, I like that one guy I mentioned to you who was upset about because he had to make a choice. We saw his like some of these people have a medical record and diagnosis before they even join. So
Mm.
like I didn't know like people could join with a medical, diagnoses and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Like some
you
of these
just get a
people,
waiver. Yeah.
yeah, they could just get a waiver. And going back real quick, when I joined the military, I didn't know people could not be a citizen and join. Like when I first joined, I didn't know that. I did not know that.
Yep. Yeah, that's the
That
way
like
you get
that
your
just blew my
citizenship.
mind. Like I'm like, what? You're not a citizen? I'm like, yeah, nah. But the
You
military
know,
did have the thing where you can get streamlined to get your citizenship.
facts. Yeah, you do
Yeah,
like a certain amount of years and you good. And
yeah.
also, they would in like the early 2000s, they would, and probably I think the 90s, they were recruiting from prisons too. Like so, you would I would see people in the army with like neck tats and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. I'm like, yo, what's going on? Like hand tats,
Mm-hmm.
like you couldn't really get all that stuff. But it's like, nah, that those are folks that they got recruited from the pen. It was
Yeah,
like, hey, we can erase your sentence if you do such and such amount of time here.
yeah,
And yeah, and I'm happy for opportunities like that because I'm sure it worked out. It seemed like it worked out well for a bunch of people.
yeah. Probably so. Yeah, but working at the Physical Disability Board Review was eye opening, and I'm
Hmm.
not here to bash any veterans, because I know what it's like to not to not to have the rating that you feel as though that you should have when you're talking to people and your situation is worse than the next man or next woman, and people are telling you like, man, no, you should be this or you should be that, and it's frustrating, yes.
Yeah,
But like my situation, I just did what I eventually, I got to 100, but I did what I needed to do. I didn't complain. I was disappointed at times, but yeah, I did what did what I was supposed to do, go to my appointments and everything. But eventually, things happen, but so with that being said, what's some of the things that you're into now, like with your channel and what information you try to put out to the people?
and before we go there, I wanted to give the audience some context. So
Mhm.
there's with VA disability claims, there's when you get denied, there's three different types of appeals. So you have the supplemental claim
Okay.
where you can appeal and you can add more information. You can add supplemental information, so like more medical records that you found, or maybe more recent doctors' um, feedback and stuff like that. And then you have higher level reviews, which is where you can have someone that of more experience look over your claim, like a more experienced VA rater. And then they can have a second set of eyes. So that's usually for like if there was an error made, where like let's say it's some information or some evidence that was overlooked, like let's say a disability benefits questionnaire, a DBQ, and for some reason that rater that initially looked at your claim didn't process that, so they didn't acknowledge it. So you can go and do a high level review, and then the third one is a board review, and that's what Be Humble was talking about. He was on the board, so that's where it goes to a board, and that's usually like the third level. It's usually in increments. People usually go supplemental, high level, and then board appeal, or they'll just go straight to high level, then board appeal. It just all depends. Um, Whatever your representation they recommend to you. But yeah, so the board appeal, they're basically like a veteran, usually, right? And they're like they really don't have a lot to do with the VA. They kind of work with the VA, or would you say for the VA?
Four.
Okay, they work for the VA, and they're a different set of eyes. So they're not like a
Mhm.
medical professional or anything like that. They're actually one of us looking at your appeals. But the thing about these appeals, they can take a while, right? Of course, there's long backlogs, there's job cuts going on right now. And so, this backlog is expanding. And also, it's more pressure on these VA raters and the people on the board to look through more cases. So now they have a bigger workload. So now you have more margin of error, going through all these claims and these high quotas that they have to have, this high turnover rate, and then of course the high turnover rates with some offices because they know they're being overworked. So now you continually got this new cycle of new employees that has to be trained up and they're making rookie mistakes. So I just wanted to give the audience like a little bit of background on that, but some insight. And yeah, like to your point with you were saying that the veteran that you called, you were looking at their claims and they made an error. They made like a simple error. They didn't fill out some
Yep.
critical information, some required information. And that's a part of why I'm in the game trying to teach veterans, is because like to help educate veterans so where they're not making those simple mistakes and they have an understanding of how the VA operates, the claims process is, and what you can do in most situations. It's really not that hard. I think it is a hit or miss. Like it's not guaranteed that if you have all of your information and evidence and stuff, you're gonna get that rating that you're looking for. Because even like Dwayne Kimball,
Hmm.
he was a VA rater for 20 years, and he
Yes.
put in his claim while he was a VA rater, and guess what? He got denied a few times.
Yep.
Got denied quite a few times. You know what I mean? A VA rater, a retired VA rater, got denied by other VA raters.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, think about that. So of course, it ain't perfect, the system, and I think they slowly moving in a good direction. But yeah, it's not perfect. So yeah, the reason why I'm in the game is to help, minimize those simple mistakes, those critical errors, and show veterans what they can do and kind of manage their expectations. Because I mean, realistically, come on now, everybody ain't 100% disabled, and there's a lot
Hmm.
of people that are that should be 100% disabled. There's also quite a few people that aren't really 100% disabled, and they got 100%. Me, I'm 70%. You know what? I'm good with that. There are a few things I would like the VA to acknowledge. And I think that's what's most important. It's not to have an expectation tied to, what your disabilities. It's more so making sure the VA acknowledges what happened to you, or also what what you contracted, or what symptoms you have because of it. I
Hmm.
think that's more important. And now, if it comes out and adds up to 100%, cool. Or
Yeah.
if you work towards that in the future, every few years, you have more evidence that proves that, hey, this is getting worse, or this wasn't really proven like it was in the past, but I have more evidence to prove that it was this bad. Then that's great. But yeah, everybody ain't 100% disabled. Just to keep it a buck, especially not 100% permanent total. It just is what it is, and they purposely make it hard because, of course, they kicking out a lot of money. If everybody was 100%, so um, and you get out of property taxes and a whole bunch of other benefits. But to make a long story short, and to answer your question, yeah, I have a YouTube channel called Simple Benefits. I'm Ryan Rowley, and I teach veterans about their benefits, not just VA claims, education benefits, grants. I've been trying to expand more because I know it's a lot of different topics that veterans need to know about.
Yeah.
And I don't even know right now because I'm still like, got about 1,700 subscribers. So I'm still kind of a small channel. So I'm still trying to figure out what exactly you all need in order to thrive, what type of information. But that's the whole goal. I also have a course, a VA claims course, where I educate veterans, exactly to prevent the things that we talked about earlier. Um, those silly mistakes or those critical mistakes, or what to do in those situations, and really understanding the process, so to manage your expectations. because it's a big difference when you understand the process and while you're going through it, instead of, you going through the process and you hoping and praying everything is good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you checking that your benefits website every day, try to see if that rating went through. Did I get the rating yet? You gotta wait like 3 to 6 months, dog. Like it ain't like chill out. But and then also, like the different statuses of your rating, like okay, it's in the review stage,
Yeah,
or it more information is needed, and they give you a chance to provide
yeah,
more information, understanding that stuff.
yeah.
Keep
I
it.
had that happen when because for PTSD, they
Mm-hmm.
wanted to make sure that I was actually deployed. So they
Mm-hmm.
asked me to show like a travel claim, my orders.
Mm-hmm.
So I had all that to show that I was. They wanted to show for me to show something to prove that I was in Iraq.
Yeah,
So
because it's not always on your DD-214s.
yeah,
So like before you get out, and you go into that out processing phase, and they give you an opportunity to look over your DD-214, you need to go ahead and get it corrected. So before you get out, and they will do it right away. Then it's a totally different process after you get out. It's gonna take a little longer,
yeah,
and you might have to go back and forth a few times with the folks that needs to correct it, because you might have to provide quite a bit of paperwork, orders, whatever you got.
yeah,
Because it's a few veterans that they were commenting on YouTube. We were chopping it up, and a few people, they either their base was disbanded, the building that used to, or unit that processed their information ain't around no more. It's a parking lot now,
yeah.
or it's so many different times where the VA just lost your information. I don't.
Mhm.
I'm still trying to figure out, are they completely digital yet? I believe they are, but
So when I looked up my dad's information, because my dad he was in the military, so but he's
mhm.
old. They were only able to give me like 3 documents, and they said the rest was in a fire during the time, like back in the day.
Yeah.
They said a fire. There was a fire, yeah, and they only had like two, like two his 214s and some other document.
hmm
Yeah.
And what's crazy, a lot of people don't realize that it's certain policies in place that actually help you if they lose your benefits, to where they have to approve you for certain things, so
Mm,
you can use that to your advantage.
okay.
So like education is so important in this, anywhere in life, especially VA claims, because like I'm about to drop a video soon where veterans could be missing out of over $700,000. Because, and you got to think about over 20, 30 years, if you can pay 60%, 70%, that's what, 15 6 or to $1,800 a month over 20, 30 years. That's like $500,000, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
or more. Or if you 100%, that's well over $1 million. So like you're missing out on a lot of money, tax-free money at that, if
Yeah.
you don't go ahead and submit your claims. And a lot of veterans, they think they don't qualify for anything, man, or they think, oh man, we're gonna save that money for somebody else, that's really jacked up. Hey man, you
Yeah.
better go ahead and get it while it's there, because it might not always be there. And the longer you wait, the harder it is to get it.
Yeah. I would tell any veteran as well to always like to check, because recently I got a phone call from the VA, and the lady
hmm
was like, "I'm calling to check your status. You married? Is your son still in high school? And I'm like, at first I'm like, who's this? And I said like, I'm like, yeah, yeah, okay. The next thing I know, I got like these big lump sums. So I guess I wasn't checking. I should have been checking that I was getting the correct amount. So I
Yeah,
was getting basically I
facts.
was getting underpaid
Facts.
for like almost a year.
So I have a video
Almost,
that explains that in my course. It talks about dependents, right? You
yeah.
gotta list your dependents, and you're eligible for retro pay, for that back pay, if you
Mhm.
didn't claim them right away. So like with my spouse, I got paid for like 3 or 4 months lump sum because I told them late. So it was great. And plus it was like a few $100s of a difference when I claimed her as a dependent.
Mhm.
So definitely do that. Definitely, especially even if those of you that are taking care of parents and stuff like that, or you know what I mean. Claim them as your
Yeah.
dependent. You know what I mean?
Is
Of
it
course.
uh, well? Do you know the process? It's not like I'm trying to do it, but do you know the process? Because I remember on active duty, you
Hmm.
know, because since I worked admin, I would help people, submit the paperwork to
Hmm.
claim their parents. Is it similar? Or
I think it's you just go to your e-benefits account. I'm
Mhm.
pretty sure you just go to your e-benefits account, and when you go to your claims and ratings and stuff, I believe on the left-hand side, the window pane, it has an option for dependents. So you can add your dependents. It's like
Okay.
really simple, really simple. Or you can just call. You can just call the VA and tell them over the phone. Um, it's not that hard. Now, if you're claiming, I think like parents and stuff like that, you might have to have like some proof that you're taking
Okay.
care of them and stuff like that. But like kids and spouse are simple.
Yeah. I
Simple.
think with them, they just want like a birth certificate or something like that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
just yeah, marriage certificate. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's really simple, and yeah, a lot of veterans are missing out on that. A lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some things I'm working on in the future too. An app. I got an app coming out. It's kind of already available, but I don't have
Okay.
anything on it right now. It's called the Simple Vet app. Um, and also, I'm going to be offering strategy calls soon too, because I noticed that a lot of folks that work for the VA or like independent companies that work with the VA,
Mhm.
they're booked out. Like, like if you're trying to talk with the actual VSO or something, like you gotta wait like a month or two just to get an appointment. So
What you mentioned in the VSO match, just real quick. Do you think it's more beneficial to use a VSO or just to do it by yourself?
it all depends on how studious you are. I don't see why not work with a VSO, especially after you vet them because you get to utilize their experience.
Mhm.
Even lawyers, you get to utilize their experience. You just got to make sure they actually know what they're talking about. They got some experience. They got some skin in the game, things like that. Because like VSOs, they can look at your paperwork on the back end. They got access for that because they got access to the VA system, so they can give you more insight than if you just go on your own. Now, at the end of the day, I know a lot of veterans still independently file, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
As long as you educate yourself. And that's why I created the course. It's for people that want to file independent or people want to do it with VSOs because you can still get a lot of say so with your VSO. I mean, a lot of people don't realize that they just let them do everything, but you got to look over the stuff that they about to submit for you because they
Yeah.
could submit some errors or the wrong formatting or something like that. You know what I mean? I've heard some horror stories about this stuff. So yeah, just all I recommend is that and there's plenty of other YouTube channels out here that provide great information, like Dwayne Kimball. You
Yep.
know, um, that
I
you
had
can
him on. I had him on. I interviewed him. He's very
yeah,
knowledgeable. Yeah.
yeah. I think you should never do anything with without researching first. I think that's the most important thing. If you can do that part for any decision you make in life, research first, heavily research first. What you're going to do is you're going to increase your chances of success, right? You know what I mean? So you got to do it. Just don't blindly say and help manage your expectations with that knowledge that you're acquiring. Because if you think I should be 200% because I got this and that going on, and it ain't really what you think it is, and the VA don't really look at it like that because you don't really understand. So
Yeah.
yeah, seek that knowledge. Seek that knowledge. Don't try to be entitled about it. You know what I mean? Like go put in the groundwork.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my biggest recommendation for veterans for sure.
All right. All right. I guess we'll go ahead and end it with that. Anything else you want to say?
Man, shout out to the veterans, man. I appreciate y'all. We appreciate y'all. Keep pushing forward. I know we're still very much misunderstood in the workplace, out in public. Doesn't matter. We understand each other. Seek out organizations, seek help. For anything. build a community, just like us. We met at a Wounded Warrior Project event. You
Yeah.
know, so I ain't nothing like being in a place with other veterans. I know I'm gonna have a good time. I can let loose a little bit. I ain't gotta be PC. I ain't gotta be politically correct all the time. I ain't gotta worry about people's feelings and stuff like that. I can kind of let loose a little bit.
Yes. Yes.
And we understand each other. So community is very important. So making sure you have all of those things, because yeah, I can't rely on my spouse for everything, right? She's not a veteran, and it's a different struggle. So I still talk with my buddies, even be humble. I still talk with people that are still in. Do that. I highly encourage it. Because yeah, a lot of people aren't going to understand this, especially in the workplace.
Yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, it depends on where you work at. I would say my where I work at is a little bit more. It's different because I
hmm
do work with the military, and there's a
hmm
lot of people who are veterans and retirees there. So
Mm.
yeah,
And people take advantage of veterans too easily, like because they automatically assume we like we got crazy focus and we're willing to do anything to get the job done and stuff like that, which is cool. It's cool. We kind of did before, but we ain't really trying to do that right now. You know, we ain't
uh-huh.
trying to, volunteer for overnight shifts and all this other stuff consecutively, and you're just gonna take advantage of it all willy nilly. Like, know your rights, know the policies that your job has in place or anywhere has in place, and because people are going to take advantage of your ignorance, especially with veterans. So yeah, do that.
Yeah. All right, Ryan. I appreciate you coming on. Appreciate the talk. Some of the stories that you had.
I try to give you some good stuff, some good content. I got plenty more too, so maybe for another time, man. Maybe
Yes,
for another
yes. All right, man. It's nice talking with you, man. You enjoy your evening.
Nice talking with you too, man. Yeah, enjoy.
All right, Ryan. Have a good one, man.
You too, man.
All right.
All right.